Alien girl asked the human to guide her home. But what she called home was the twist he felt. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. John Miller wasn't a man who believed in aliens. He had always dismissed the idea as just another fantasy, something to laugh at over a beer with friends or to roll his eyes at during late-night documentaries. But all of that changed one cold autumn evening. It was a Friday, the kind of night when the streets were quiet, and the usual bustle of the small town gave way to the occasional car driving by, headlights cutting through the dark. John had just finished his shift as a tour guide for a local historical site, and he was on his way home. He was tired, ready to relax with a slice of pizza and catch up on some Netflix. That was when he saw her. At first, he thought she was just another person dressed up for Halloween. She was standing under a streetlight, her figure lit in such a way that her silver-blue hair glowed faintly, and her skin seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. Her eyes were bright and intense, an unnatural shade of violet. She didn't belong, and John could feel it. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice smooth but laced with an accent he couldn't place. "I need your help. Can you guide me home?" Otherworldly presence, sending a strange shiver up his spine. Realized that wasn't what she meant at all. "What do you mean, not like I understand?" he asked, trying to keep his voice casual, though a part of him was growing uneasy. Astra stopped walking, turning to face him. Her violet eyes locked onto his, and for a brief moment, John felt like he was drowning in them. "Home is not just a place," she said softly. "It's a feeling, a connection, a place where everything aligns. I've been trying to find it for so long." John swallowed, unsure of what to say. The more she spoke, the less he understood, and yet, somehow, he couldn't bring himself to turn back. It was as if something beyond logic was keeping him with her, like he was a part of something larger than himself. "But what if it's not here? What if you can't find it?" John asked, his voice uncertain. Astra's expression softened, and she reached out, placing a hand on his arm. "I will find it. I just need to keep searching." There was a conviction in her voice that John couldn't ignore. "I've been lost for so long. But you're helping me. You don't even know it, but you are." John didn't know how to respond. He had never been one to believe in things like fate or destiny, but there was something about Astra that made him question everything he had ever known. They continued walking in silence, and the further they went, the more the world around them seemed to change. The streetlights became dimmer, and the air grew colder. John pulled his jacket tighter around himself, feeling the chill seep into his bones. The trees that lined the street began to look different, their branches twisting in strange ways, as if they were reaching for something. "This doesn't look like the way back to town," John said, glancing around. "Where are we going?" Astra didn't answer right away, her gaze focused ahead. Then, after a moment, she spoke. "We're not going back to town, John. We're going somewhere else." Her words sent a shiver down his spine, but he couldn't bring himself to question her further. The pull of whatever was happening between them was too strong. It felt like they were both walking toward something, toward an unknown truth that neither of them fully understood yet. "Somewhere else," John echoed, his heart pounding in his chest. Astra nodded, a faint smile crossing her lips. "Yes, somewhere else. Somewhere where everything will make sense." John's mind spun with 1,000 different questions, but he remained silent. The further they walked, the more the landscape around them seemed to blur. The quiet town he had known his whole life was disappearing, replaced by something else, something otherworldly. And with every step, John felt the weight of what was to come growing heavier. Whatever Astra was leading him toward, he knew it was something that would change everything. His heart raced as he took another step, deeper into the unknown. "I have to admit, I was starting to feel the pull of something strange." The world around me had grown quieter. The buildings that had lined the streets were no longer familiar. The trees now appeared taller, their trunks twisting unnaturally as if the very earth itself was shifting under my feet. I glanced over at Astra, who was walking just ahead of me, her head slightly turned, her eyes fixed on something in the distance that I couldn't see. There was an odd sense of calm that surrounded her, like she wasn't at all bothered by the strange, surreal changes in the environment. Astra, I called out, my voice sounding small against the growing silence. She turned to look at me, her violet eyes gleaming softly in the dim light. What's happening? Where are we? I had expected her to offer some sort of explanation, but instead, she gave me a reassuring smile. We're getting closer, she said, her voice as calm as ever. Closer to what? I asked, my heart pounding. There was a heavy weight in the air now, like a storm was gathering just on the horizon, but without the thunder. Home, she answered, her voice barely a whisper. Home. Her words echoed in my mind, but they didn't make sense. What did she mean by that? She had said before that it wasn't a place, but a feeling, a connection. But now, it felt more like a journey. A journey that had led us far away from the town, far away from anything I recognized. I don't understand, I muttered under my breath, but Astra didn't seem to hear me. Her gaze was distant, her focus unwavering. The more I walked beside her, the more I felt the distance between us growing. Not physically. No, it was something else, something deeper. It was as if she were moving at a different pace, like she was slipping through a door I couldn't see. The air was thick, dense, like I was wading through water. And yet, Astra seemed unaffected, as if she belonged in this place, whatever it was. The further we went, the more the world around me felt like it was peeling away, layer by layer. The streetlights that had once flickered above us were gone now, replaced by an unnatural glow that came from nowhere and everywhere at once. The sky above us, which had been clear a moment ago, was now filled with swirling colors, like a canvas being painted in real time. Where are we going, Astra? I asked again, my voice barely above a whisper now. I wasn't sure if I wanted the answer. You'll see, she replied, her tone soft, yet firm. She had said that so many times already. It was like a mantra, but with each step I took, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't just walking alongside her anymore. I was walking into something, into a place I could never return from. The ground beneath my feet had stopped feeling solid. Me that stepping inside that building would lead us both to a truth neither of us were ready to face. I stood frozen in place, my heart hammering in my chest as I stared at the shimmering structure before me. The building, if it could even be called that, was like nothing I had ever seen. It rose up into the sky with smooth, undulating curves that seemed to breathe, its surface shifting colors and reflecting the dim light in strange, fluid patterns. For a moment, I wondered if it was some kind of illusion, a mirage conjured by my own mind. But the cold air that brushed against my skin, the quiet hum that seemed to emanate from the structure, made it all too real. Astra, standing just beside me, gave a soft exhale, almost as if in reverence. She looked at the building with a mixture of awe and something deeper, an emotion I couldn't quite place. She didn't need to say anything. I knew, somehow, that this was where she had been leading me all along. Is this home? I asked, my voice barely a whisper, as if speaking too loudly might shatter the delicate atmosphere around us. Astra turned to me, her violet eyes filled with something I couldn't read. Yes, she said, her voice soft but filled with conviction. This is where I belong. This is where I'll find the peace I've been searching for. I felt a wave of confusion wash over me. What was this place? How could it be real? And why was I here, standing next to her, when I didn't even understand what was going on? Astra seemed to sense my unease. She reached out, placing a hand on my arm, her touch cool but comforting. I know this is hard to understand, she said gently. But this place is more than just a structure. It's a part of me. It's where my journey ends. I tried to process her words, but they didn't make sense. Her journey? What did that mean? I had thought we were just walking down the street. I had thought we were just going for a simple walk, maybe to some other part of town. But now it was clear that we were standing on the precipice of something much larger, something far beyond anything I could grasp. But what happens when we go inside? I asked, my voice shaking slightly. Astra gave me a soft smile, one that carried both sadness and hope. When we enter, you will understand, she said. You will see it too. The uncertainty in my chest grew. I wanted to ask more questions, to demand answers, but something in Astra's eyes stopped me. There was no fear in her gaze, only a quiet certainty, as if she had known this moment was coming for a long time. Slowly, she turned toward the entrance of the building, her steps deliberate. I hesitated for a second, my feet unwilling to move, but the pull to follow her was too strong. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward. As I crossed the threshold, I felt a sudden shift, like stepping into another world entirely. The air was different, fresher, clearer, but also heavier somehow. The walls inside seemed to pulse with life, their surface still shifting, changing, as though they were alive. And the space, so vast and empty at first glance, seemed to expand as if it were infinite, stretching beyond the edges of what I could see. I glanced at Astra, who was now walking deeper into the building, her expression peaceful, almost as if she were home at last. I followed her, but with each step, the uncertainty grew. What was happening? What was this place? And why had she brought me here? But before I could ask any more questions, Astra stopped and turned toward me, her face glowing softly in the strange light of the space. "This is it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "This is where I find my peace. And this is where everything changes." I took a step closer, my breath catching in my throat as I watched Astra standing at the center of the vast, empty space. The air was thick with a strange, quiet energy that seemed to pulse with every heartbeat. I could feel it in my chest, an overwhelming pressure that both unsettled and captivated me. The walls, if you could call them that, continued to shift and shimmer, as though they were alive, breathing in the same rhythm as the space around us. It felt like I had crossed into another dimension, one that defied logic and reason. Astra's face was serene, her violet eyes reflecting the soft, shifting light as she turned slowly to face me. "This is it," she repeated, her voice barely a whisper, but it resonated deep within me. "This is where everything changes." I didn't understand what she meant. I had no idea what was happening, why I was here, or why I was standing at the edge of something so mysterious. But the pull to stay close to her, to follow her, was undeniable. She had brought me here for a reason. But what was it? "Astra, what is this place?" My voice was shaky, my words barely escaping me as I stepped forward. She smiled softly, her expression a mixture of peace and something else, something more profound than anything I had ever seen. "This is where my journey ends," she said quietly, "and where yours begins." The weight of her words hung in the air, and for a moment, I wasn't sure if I could take another step. My mind was racing with questions, and yet, I couldn't bring myself to voice them. What was she talking about? Why was she so certain that this was the end of her journey? And what did she mean by the beginning of mine? Astra stepped closer to me, her presence calm and steady. She reached out and gently placed her hand on my arm, her touch cool but reassuring. "I know this is overwhelming," she said softly, "but trust me, John. You're not just here by chance. You've been part of this from the very beginning." I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I don't understand any of this. I just met you a few hours ago." Astra's smile deepened, and she took a step back, as if to give me some space. "Time is different here," she explained. "Things are not what they seem. I've been searching for this place for longer than you can imagine. But now that I'm here, I can't turn back. And neither can you." The weight of her words settled on me, and I felt a shift in the air, as if the space itself was reacting to her statement. There was a hum, a vibration that seemed to fill the entire room. I looked around, but there was nothing, just the endless, shifting walls and the strange, otherworldly light. "What does that mean for me?" I asked, feeling a chill run down my spine. Astra met my gaze, her eyes filled with understanding and something else, something deeper, like she knew something I didn't. "It means that you're a part of this, John," she said quietly. "You've always been a part of it. And now, you have to decide." She paused, allowing the silence to hang between us. "Do you want to stay here with me? Or do you want to go back to your old life, the one you've always known?" The question hung in the air like a heavy fog, and for a moment, I didn't know what to say. I wanted to go back. I wanted to return to the familiar, to the life I had always known. But something in my chest told me that wasn't the right answer. Not anymore. Astra was right about one thing. This was no longer just a random encounter. Something had shifted inside me the moment I stepped into this strange, unearthly place. I wasn't the same person anymore. I wasn't sure where this journey would lead, but I knew that I couldn't walk away. Not now. Not when I was so close to something that felt like the truth. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do," I said quietly, my voice hoarse. "But I know I can't leave. Astra's expression softened, and she nodded slowly. That's all I needed to hear, she said, her voice filled with warmth. Now let's see what happens next. With those words, she turned and began walking deeper into the glowing space, and without thinking, I followed her. The decision had been made. There was no turning back now. I followed Astra deeper into the shifting structure, the strange energy in the air growing more intense with each step. The walls, if you could call them that, continued to pulsate with a soft, rhythmic glow, as though they were alive. The floor beneath my feet was smooth, almost glass-like, and I could hear the faint hum of something, some presence, reverberating through the space. Despite the unsettling atmosphere, I couldn't tear my eyes away from Astra. She moved with such certainty, such calm, as if she were walking through a place she had known her entire life. And yet, every instinct inside me screamed that nothing about this was normal. Nothing about this place made sense. Astra, I called, my voice quiet but laced with unease. She slowed her pace, turning her head slightly, to glance back at me. What is this place? Where are we going? Her gaze softened, and she stopped walking, turning to face me completely. The strange light reflected in her violet eyes, making them shimmer with an almost otherworldly glow. This is the place I've been searching for, John, she said, her voice calm, almost reverent. It's not just a building. It's part of me, part of who I am. I looked around, my mind struggling to comprehend what she was saying. The space was so vast, so strange, and yet, I felt like I was being drawn deeper into it, as though the walls themselves were beckoning me forward. I don't understand, I admitted, my voice low. How is this part of you? What does that even mean? Astra took a deep breath, her expression thoughtful. It's hard to explain, she said after a moment. But this place is where I'm meant to be. It's where I've always been meant to be. I just needed to find it. I could hear the certainty in her voice, but the more she spoke, the more I felt lost. This was beyond anything I had ever known, beyond anything I could have imagined. And what about me? I asked, my words coming out before I could stop them. Why am I here, Astra? Why did you bring me here? She paused, as if considering my question, before she stepped closer, her eyes never leaving mine. You're here because you're part of this, John, she said softly. You've always been part of it, whether you realize it or not. Her words echoed in my mind, and I felt a strange tightening in my chest. What did she mean? How could I have always been part of this? I had just met her hours ago. None of this made sense. I don't know what you mean, I said, shaking my head, though my heart was beginning to pound in my chest. I don't belong here, Astra. I don't understand any of this. She reached out and gently touched my arm, her fingers cool against my skin. You will, she said, her voice steady and reassuring. You'll understand soon enough. Before I could respond, Astra turned and began walking again, this time with a purposeful stride, as though she knew exactly where she was going. I hesitated for a moment, the weight of her words pressing on me, but I couldn't stay still. Something inside me, something deep and unexplainable, urged me to follow her. So I did. We walked deeper into the structure, the strange energy in the air growing stronger with every step. It felt like the very fabric of reality was bending around us, warping in ways I couldn't quite grasp. The further we went, the more the space seemed to expand, until I couldn't even tell if we were still inside or if we had crossed into something else entirely. Finally, we reached a large, open area in the center of the structure. The light here was brighter, more intense, and in the center of the room stood a pedestal of sorts, though it was unlike anything I had ever seen. It seemed to shimmer and pulse with an energy all its own. Astra stopped and turned to face me, her expression serene, but there was a depth in her eyes that spoke of something far beyond what I could understand. This is where it all comes together, she said quietly. This is where everything changes. My heart raced as I looked at the pedestal, the air around it crackling with energy. What was this place? What was about to happen? I had no answers, but I knew one thing for sure. I was about to find out. I stood there, my heart racing as I looked at the pedestal in the center of the room. It was like nothing I had ever seen, its surface shimmering with a strange, radiant energy that seemed to pulse in rhythm with my own heartbeat. The light around it was brighter now, almost blinding, and yet, I couldn't look away. Something about it called to me, something deep inside that I couldn't explain. Astra, standing just a few steps ahead, seemed at ease. Her calm demeanor hadn't wavered, and I couldn't help but wonder how she could be so sure of everything. How did she know what was about to happen? What was this place, and why had she brought me here? Astra, I said, my voice trembling despite my best efforts to stay calm. What is this? What is this pedestal? Astra turned slowly to face me, her eyes filled with a quiet understanding, as though she had been waiting for me to ask this question all along. This is the heart of it, she said, her voice soft but filled with certainty. It's the place where everything converges. This is where you will understand what you're meant to do. Her words left me more confused than ever. The pedestal? Where everything converges. What was she talking about? I stepped closer, drawn to the light, but still unsure of what I was supposed to do. I don't get it, I admitted, my voice cracking. What do you mean, where everything converges? Where I will understand. Astra smiled, but it was a gentle, knowing smile, one that didn't seem to promise answers but instead something deeper. You're not just here by accident, John. You've always been part of this, even if you didn't know it. This place, this moment, it's part of your journey too. You've been brought here for a reason. I swallowed hard, the weight of her words pressing down on me. But I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't understand any of this, Astra. I just don't get it. I felt lost, as though everything around me was slipping through my fingers. How was I supposed to know what to do? How was I supposed to understand what this all meant? Astra reached out, her hand resting gently on my arm. You don't have to understand it all right now, she said softly. But you'll begin to. This is the moment where your path and mine finally cross. This is where you find your place in all of this. I looked at her, my mind spinning, but something about her presence made me feel as though I didn't need all the answers. Not yet. Maybe, just maybe, this was something I had to experience first. I turned my attention back to the pedestal, the strange lights swirling around it, beckoning me closer. It was as though it were waiting for me, calling me to take the next step. I could feel it deep in my chest, a strange, unfamiliar pull. I stepped forward, my feet moving almost on their own accord, the light growing brighter the closer I got. It filled my vision, wrapping around me like a warm embrace. I could feel the energy thrumming in the air, and with each step, the pressure in my chest grew. But it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt right. The moment my hand touched the surface of the pedestal, the light intensified, flooding the entire room with a brilliance that made me gasp. My body felt weightless, as though I were suspended in time and space. The air around me seemed to hum with energy, and I could feel something stirring inside me. Something ancient, something familiar. For a brief second, I was overwhelmed by a vision, a rush of memories and images flashing before my eyes. But they weren't my memories. They were Astra's. I could see her, standing in a similar place, years ago, searching, longing, just like she had told me. I could feel her journey, the endless search for something that had always been just out of reach. But now, here, in this moment, it was finally within her grasp. And I was a part of it. Slowly, the vision faded, and I was back in the room, my hand still resting on the pedestal. Astra was standing beside me, her expression soft, knowing. You see now, don't you? She said, her voice barely more than a whisper. You're part of this. This is your path too. I didn't fully understand what had just happened, but something inside me had changed. I wasn't sure what the future held, but I knew one thing for certain. This moment, this place, had forever altered the course of my life. I stood there, my hand still resting on the pedestal, my mind swirling with the remnants of the vision I had just experienced. Everything felt different now, like a veil had been lifted, and I could see things more clearly, though I still didn't fully understand what it all meant. The air around me hummed with a strange energy, and the light that surrounded the pedestal slowly began to fade, its intensity dimming as if it were settling into place. Astra was silent, watching me with those violet eyes, waiting for me to process what had just happened. I turned to her, my thoughts jumbled, but there was a sense of peace that I hadn't felt before. Something had shifted inside me, something profound, though the details still eluded me. What did I just see? I asked, my voice hoarse, still trying to piece everything together. Astra took a slow step toward me, her expression soft and patient. You saw the truth, she said simply. You saw what you needed to see. I frowned, still struggling to understand. But what does? That mean? What did I see, Astra? She smiled gently, placing a hand on my shoulder. You saw the connection, John. You're part of something bigger than you realized. You've always been a part of it. This place, this moment, it was meant to be. I looked around at the shifting space, the glowing walls, and the pulsating energy that still seemed to linger in the air. It felt like the entire place was alive, breathing with a rhythm that was both comforting and overwhelming. But why me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Why was I brought here? Astra's eyes softened, and she stepped closer, her presence calming. Because you've always been meant to be here. This isn't just about me, John. It's about both of us. And it's about you understanding that you've always been a part of something far bigger than your own life. I shook my head, the weight of her words pressing down on me. I had never felt so lost, and yet so connected to something in my entire life. I had come here with no expectations, just a simple walk down the street, and now I found myself standing in the heart of something ancient, something vast, and something that defied everything I knew. I still don't understand, I admitted, my voice thick with confusion. I've only known you for a short time. I don't know what's happening, Astra. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. She nodded, understanding in her eyes. That's okay, she said softly. You don't need to have all the answers right now. You just need to trust that you're where you're meant to be. Everything will make sense in time. I wanted to argue, to demand more answers, but something in her voice made me stop. She wasn't just speaking to reassure me. There was a depth to her words that reached into something deep inside me. Slowly, I nodded, even though I still felt like a part of me was missing. But maybe, just maybe, this was the moment I had been waiting for, even if I couldn't see it yet. Astra turned, her gaze moving back to the pedestal, and without a word, she began to walk toward it. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do, but the pull to follow her was too strong to resist. I stepped forward, my feet moving almost of their own accord, as if the very space around us was guiding me. As I walked beside her, the light around the pedestal began to shift again, its glow now softer, more inviting. Astra paused before the pedestal and turned to me. This is where you must decide, John, she said, her voice low but firm. This is where your path truly begins. You can choose to walk forward, to embrace what you've seen, or you can choose to turn away. The decision is yours. I stood there, facing her, the weight of her words pressing down on me. The choice was mine, and yet, in that moment, it didn't feel like a choice at all. I had already walked this far. The path had already chosen me, and I wasn't about to turn back now. Without saying another word, I reached out, placing my hand on the pedestal beside hers. The moment our hands made contact, the light flared brightly once more, and I felt a surge of energy rush through me, filling me with a sense of purpose I had never known. It was as if everything had finally clicked into place. The vision, the truth, the connection, everything made sense now. And for the first time, I knew what I had to do. I felt the energy surge through me, an overwhelming current that made my entire body hum with a strange, electric sensation. It was as if the pedestal itself was alive, and I was connected to it, to everything around me. Astra's presence beside me was comforting, yet there was a deep knowing in her eyes, a certainty that this moment was inevitable. As the light intensified, I could feel something shifting inside me, a part of me awakening that I didn't know existed. The vision, the feeling, it was all coming together now, the pieces of a puzzle that had been scattered for so long finally falling into place. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to absorb everything that was happening, the weight of it all pressing in on me. When I opened them again, the world around us had changed. The space was no longer just the strange, shifting room we had been in. It had expanded, stretching out before me in ways that were impossible to comprehend. The walls seemed to melt away, and in their place was a vast landscape, a world that was both familiar and completely alien. It was like stepping into another realm entirely, a place where time and space had no real meaning. I turned to Astra, my heart racing as I tried to make sense of what I was seeing. What is this? I asked, my voice barely a whisper, the weight of the moment settling heavily on my shoulders. Astra smiled softly, her eyes reflecting the same quiet understanding that had been there since we first met. This is where it all comes together, she said. This is the place where your journey begins. Her words, though simple, carried a depth that resonated within me. I looked out over the vast landscape, feeling the enormity of the choice I had made. This was it, the moment when everything I had known was left behind, and a new path was unfolding before me. But there was no fear, no hesitation. For the first time, I felt a sense of purpose, as if I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I don't know what this means yet, I said, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside me. But I know this is my path. Astra nodded, her expression soft and proud. You've always known, John, she said. This was always your path. You were just waiting to realize it. I stood there for a moment, letting her words sink in. Everything about this place, about what had happened between us, felt like a dream, but it was real. It was as real as the ground beneath my feet, as real as the steady beat of my heart. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle into me. This was just the beginning. There was so much more ahead, so much more to discover, but I wasn't afraid. The uncertainty that had plagued me before was gone, replaced by a quiet resolve. I was ready for whatever came next. I turned back to Astra, a new sense of clarity in my eyes. What do we do now? I asked, my voice filled with the determination I had never known before. Astra smiled, the corners of her lips curling up with a mix of satisfaction and something deeper, something knowing. Now, she said softly, we walk forward. Together. And with those words, I took my first step into the unknown, ready to embrace whatever awaited me in this strange, new world.